How's it going, everyone? Nick at night tonight. Nick Marro here with DFS Jayhawk, as always. Here with Occupy Fantasy, helping you break down the NBA DFS main slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel. It's Thursday evening here, 11th of December. We get a nice four-game slate. Been dealing with these two gamers for the NBA Cup. Nice to have a few more options this evening. We got some decent pay-ups, a little bit of value opening up. Jayhawk, how you feeling going in here?
Yeah, man, looks like a fun one. Obviously, only four games, but we have a couple of great spots and tournaments to discuss here. So excited to break this one down.
Yeah, man. Some decent sized spreads. Nothing like we saw with OKC last night. I was pumped I got Carlson right, but in all my Carlson lineups, I played Kenrich, so he was just like an anchor on those, kind of ruined the whole angle. But was right to call the blowout, but played it wrong. Not enough booyah. But yeah, tonight, man, some fun one. Some fun games here. We got HB cards here. Appreciate you, my man, saying four games. Yes, right there with us. Heath, as always, saying what's up. We got Luke here, excuse me, saying Grayson Allen doing the most Grayson Allen things. Yeah, it's funny. Brooks is like the bad rap for that team, but they have Grayson Allen as well, man. They're like, if the Jailblazers were all guards, it's kind of like what the Suns have going on right now. But yeah, let's get into it, man. Four games to talk about. Obviously, if you guys have questions, feel free to get them in. And it is an interesting slate in that the three games that lock at 8 o'clock obviously come 2 hours earlier than that late game with Denver and Sacramento. Good news is I think we had most of the news in that late game. So let's get right into it here. First game on the slate, we have the Boston Celtics favorites on the road here in Milwaukee taking on the Bucks. Chris Boucher, Ron Harper, Max Shugla, do any of them matter? No, probably not. They're all going to be out tonight. Jason Tatum's been out for the year. They still put him on the injury report. Still part of the roster. But yeah, nothing too significant here we really need to dig into as far as injuries for Boston go. It is a good matchup, obviously, boosted with no Giannis on the other side in terms of what they should be able to do offensively. But it's always kind of the same case, right? We got Brown, we got White, we got Pritchard. Brown has obviously flashed the ceiling most consistently. Pritchard started the season slow. He's been coming around lately. Point per dollar, probably the easiest of that group to get to. Then Keita, he's been kind of matchup dependent, but we've seen huge upside from him. I think all four of these guys, you can make a case for them. I don't know that I'd want more than one or two in a lineup, if I'm being completely honest, just because we have some really good spots on this slate. Obviously, this game should be competitive, but these guys do kind of cut into the upside of one another a little bit. Then the other guy I guess we got to mention is Jordan Walsh. Kind of came out of nowhere. He's been taking a ton of threes. They're using him as a spacer. He's kind of made this team a little bit better, I think, than maybe people were expecting going in. Getting a lot of steals and blocks as well, so he does score pretty well on FanDuel. So at very low ownership, I do think Jordan Walsh is somewhat useful, but don't feel entirely great about it. I do think Brown, White, Pritchard, Kate all look really solid. Not much love for me for guys like Simons or Hauser off the bench. Or Hauser, even if he starts, regardless, probably not going to get there. I think it's going to be a wash. But again, Walsh in tournaments, the rest of the starters look pretty good everywhere. Jayhawk, how do you feel about the Celtics tonight?
Yeah, so I thought I would like these guys a lot more, but I'm really trying to target the guards here. Pritchard and White, I just really like both of them in this spot against Milwaukee. So really targeting these guys in tournaments. Then I think Brown is fine at his ownership, but I do prefer the guards. And then I'm also going underweight to Keita. I think we have obviously Robert Williams, who we'll discuss. A couple other centers I do like in better spots here. So mainly just the guards here for me.
Yeah, say what you will about Miles Turner in terms of his fantasy production, but he is not the easiest matchup for a young center like Keita. I mean, we've seen Keita take the lunch of some of the smaller bigs. I don't know that Turner necessarily falls into that category. I do think he still has upside, though. Swerve here. Take Sam Hauser point prop, free square, free game. If it loses, don't blame him. He's playing. Yeah, Hauser's been back, but again, Walsh has been getting the starts. Simons, you would think, would be the first guy off the bench. I do think it's probably going to be Hauser, though. And Hauser is one of these guys who I honestly prefer coming off the bench because there's just too much usage absorbed by the likes of Brown, White, Pritchard with that first unit. So I don't mind Hauser. I honestly prefer him over a more popular Simons, but I don't think I get to much of either. How you feeling about these shooters off the bench here, Jayhawk?
Yeah, I think they're all fine to mix in as like a tournament appeal. I agree. I think Sam Hauser would be my favorite, but yeah, definitely none of these guys I like love down here off the bench.
Yeah, Simons really just hasn't been a great fit for this team, mostly because Pritchard and White kind of similar skill set, at least offensively. Over on the other side of this game, we have the Bucks. Already mentioned that Giannis is going to be out. AJ Green, who's been playing pretty well when he's healthy, is questionable. No Torian Prince, Alex Antetokounmpo. say what you will about Bronny. I think Alex might be the even bigger charity case. No disrespect. But yeah, Kevin Porter, ever since he came back from injury, has been playing outstanding. 4 straight games over 40 DK points for him. The prices come up as a result. 7,600 still on DK, though, looks really good. 8,500 over on FanDuel feels a bit pricey, but at the same time, he is the guy for this team with Giannis off the floor. It's funny, Rollins was tremendous in the absence of Porter. He's kind of come back down to earth. He still has upside, though, at lower ownership if you want to pivot a little bit. Prefer the pivot on FanDuel where you're getting a discount. I do trust Porter much more, though, as does the model. Those are the two I have the most interest in. I will say if Green plays and nobody's going to play him, he has upside. He got hurt in that game against Philly. Prior to that, he'd gone 5 straight games scoring 25 plus fantasy points. Very dependent on the three, made 4+3s in all of those games. But if you're going to keep it close against a team like Boston who tends to just chuck it from beyond the arc, I do think Green is someone you should maybe consider at very, very low ownership. Bobby Portis historically had been the guy for the Bucks whenever Giannis was off the floor. He's been a little better lately. I don't mind mixing him in, but he's not the smash play he was in years past. Likely coming off the bench, we're going to see Jericho Sims probably starting in the spot of Giannis at the 4. Super boomer bust. Really don't have any interest in him. I'm a never Kuzma type of guy. He could be playing 5-on-1. I still don't think I'd be playing him. But yeah, man, Porter looks good. Better on DK. Not much love for the front court for me, but I do think Portis is a little bit more appealing than Turner, even off the bench. The guy I'm most interested in, and I don't even know if he's going to play yet, is AJ Green. But we got to kind of wait and see on that one. Jayhawk, how do you feel about the Bucks here in a pretty tough matchup?
Yeah, so definitely a tough matchup here for Milwaukee. I think KPJ looks great here on DraftKings. Still probably underpriced for his upside, so love KPJ here. Definitely DK preferred. And then Bobby Portis, I think, looks great as well. 5,200. Not a guy that I'm like running to get overweight to, but if he lands on my builds, I think I'm pretty okay with it. And then I think Rollins is fine both sides. I'm going to be over on KPJ, so might be slightly under on Rollins. And then you mentioned that I think Kuzma very tough to get to. I just don't know if we like really see a ceiling from him. And then one more thing, AJ Green. I think he's fine. I don't love his price on DK though at 5,400.
Yeah, he is a little bit overpriced, but I think we could compare him to someone like Harrison Barnes who played last night. Like he does have the ceiling to justify it at 1% ownership. On FanDuel, though, shooting guard only isn't great, but 4,400 for him. If he's going to start, again, he's made 4+3s in 5 of his last 6 games. The one game he didn't was the game he got hurt against Philly. Definitely someone to keep an eye on. If he's healthy and good to go here, I do think he's pretty sneaky as a tournament dart. All right, a couple more games here in the 8 o'clock window. The next one being the Clippers taking on the Houston Rockets in Houston. Houston, pretty decent sized favorite, 221.5 point total. Two decent teams defensively. Certainly Houston, one of the better teams defensively in the league. Clippers taking a step back, but not the best matchup. But starting on the Clippers side of things, Derrick Jones Jr. is out. Chris Paul no longer with the team. For whatever reason, they're listing him on the injury report. Bradley Beal, I believe, out for the season. Obviously, he's not going to be involved here. Pretty interesting. I mean, we got Harden priced about where he should be. He has solid upside. Obviously, this game's in Houston. Probably going to have some friends, family, whatever in the crowd. But yeah, I mean, Harden at 10%, I think we could get to him a little bit. We're going to talk about Denny in a little bit. I think Harden is kind of a logical pivot off of Denny in tournaments if you're looking for it. For a 4 game slate, it is a pretty strong slate at center. I do think Zubac feels a bit underowned. That being said, Kawhi looks fine. He's been super productive lately. More productive than I think a lot of people thought he would be coming into the year, but 40 plus fantasy points for him, 4 of his last 6. I like him here. I'm fine getting to some Kawhi. I don't know that anything else really stands out to me, but I do think just in terms of ownership, Kawhi, Zoo, and Harden all feel a little bit underrepresented here. I know it's a tough matchup, but on a 4 game slate, could easily see one of these guys spiking a ceiling that you need to be optimal. How do you feel about the Clippers?
Yeah, man, I'm right with you. I think Zubac, you mentioned him. I think he looks fantastic at his ownership. Historically, he's been pretty good. I think they just need his size out there against this big Houston team. So really like him in tournaments. And then I think Harden looks great as well. Sub 10%. He also has a ceiling and even in a tough spot. So those are my 2 favorites. And then I think Kawhi is fine to mix in tournaments. That was about all I was getting here, though, for the most part.
Yeah. On the Zubac call, he has gone for 40 plus fantasy points his last two games against his team, I believe. Obviously, Sengun pretty decent defensively, but it is a matchup Zoo has had success in, so just keep that in mind. Over on the Houston side of things, still no Tari Eason, Dorian Finney-Smith, or Fred Van Fleet. So pretty much what we've been dealing with the past few slates for this team is what we're dealing with here tonight. Kind of similar to the Clippers, honestly. I think guys like Durant, Sengun, they have enough upside to consider as tournament plays. Would I be calling them core plays or getting them into my first lineups? No, probably not. But at low ownership, they definitely have enough of an upside to justify playing them in high risk contests. Reed Shepard's back to coming off the bench. I don't have a ton of interest in him. But Jabari Smith, again, with no Easton, I think is fine to kind of mix in. Just priced where he should be on DK, maybe a little bit too cheap on FanDuel, not getting as much love as I thought he would. And they're suddenly giving him small forward eligibility here as well, which makes it much easier to get to him. So I do like Smith. Obviously, can make a case for Thompson, Durant, or Sengun. But similar to the Clippers, I don't know that I could call anything a core play, but not really a team that should be ignored. Jayhawk, how do you feel about Houston here?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think Jabari looks pretty solid for his price and ownership. I don't want to say he's like a fantastic play, but definitely solid at his price. And then the rest of the team, like Sengun's fine, but it's mainly just Jabari here for me on the other side.
Yep. No need to spend more time on that one. And we could move into the next game here in the 8 o'clock window. Interesting spot. We got the Blazers taking on the Pelicans. Blazers slight favorites on the road here, 240.5 point total, pretty much tied with the late game as the highest total on the slate. But starting on the Portland side of things, a lot of names. We got no Drew, no Dame, obviously. Donovan Clingan and Scoot Henderson both out. Blake Wesley's still out. Robert Williams and Hanson Yang are both questionable. That's obviously very significant. No Batiste Tybal either. So this game locks at the same time as the other games we already described. We're going to have this news. If Williams is out and we get Yang starting at center again, honestly, he did not do much in that spot last time out. I don't know that I'd be rushing to get to him. Duwop Reith off the bench would maybe be a little bit more interesting, but I'm just hoping Williams is in, right? Because if he's in, Klingon's out. We saw him go 30 minutes last time. We have him for just 26 here, and he's rating as one of the top value plays on the entire slate. So Williams, to me, on both sites, even FanDuel, where you can only play one center, looks absolutely excellent. I like the FanDuel scoring for him as well because of the block and steal upside that he has, especially blocks, obviously. The really interesting play here to me is Denny. And I'm not going to lie, I have my other monitor up. I'm typing in, trying to get his game log versus the Pelicans because I think historically they've kind of glued Shady onto him. And obviously, we always talk about this. Like, we don't want to overweight individual defense, like one on one. It's definitely something that gets double counted when people are projecting for fantasy, things like that. But we have a decent sample size. And the only reason I'm digging into this is because he's 50% owned on both sites. Like, if he was low owned, I'd say just playing for the upside and low ownership. The ceiling's there, similar to a KD, similar to a Kawhi, all that good stuff. But he's more expensive and he's way more popular. So just give me a second here. But as I pull that up, go ahead and start to talk through Portland. Obviously, Sharp's been playing better lately. We can make a case for Grant Kamara, but I'm really interested in Williams more than anything and trying to justify fading Denny, but it doesn't feel great. But hit it on the Blazers.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I think starting with Williams, I think he's pretty clearly the top center play if he does play tonight. Obviously, New Orleans a very very bad interior defense, and then I think Jeremy Grant looks great as well, minus Denny. So I think Grant and Williams both look great here in the paint. And then yeah, in terms of Denny, you mentioned it. He's been bad the last few games, but it's just a really high total. He's going to thrive. So I'm probably just going to try to at least match the field here.
Yeah, the thing is, like, in a vacuum, he's a good play. And I don't want to kind of sit here and say that he's not a good play. He certainly is. But I just think when we're seeing so many guys that are a little bit cheaper with similar upside, maybe you could justify that pivot in tournaments. I do think he's one of the better pay up options, point per dollar in cash games. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the game log here. It's really tough to glean anything from it because a lot of these games, Portland had Drew, and he still scored pretty well. Prior to that, he really wasn't the guy. Like, he had some huge games with Washington against New Orleans, but these are two teams that are very, very different. So I don't want to kind of over lean into this narrative. Again, I was trying to justify getting away from him, but looking into it here, I mean, the numbers aren't really telling us that's a thing. So wanted to say, oh yeah, he sucks against the Pels. He doesn't. He's been fine. So yeah, Denny looks good. I mean, he is a bit over owned in my opinion on a four gamer, but still an excellent play. If you're only playing one lineup, going to be tough to get away from. And Williams again, if he starts at center, definitely someone we're keying in on here. A lot of bodies missing for the Pelicans as well. Zion Williamson, DeJounte Murray, Trey Alexander, Hunter Dickinson. Jordan Poole is questionable. Will he be back tonight? I don't know. Does it matter? Kind of. I mean, he's going to cut into the upside of guys like Trey Murphy, Sadiq Bey a little bit. Jeremiah Fears, as good as he's been, would lose a lot of usage and perhaps minutes as well to Poole if Poole is in and available here. But then one of my sneaky plays this week has been Alvarado coming off the bench. Remains low owned. The prices come up a bit, but if Poole's out, I don't mind mixing him in as a tournament option. But yeah, with Poole in, he's going to kind of put a damper on everything, except maybe today's cover boy, Derek Queen, coming off a ridiculous triple double where he had 70 plus fantasy points. It is a good matchup for him. And again, I mean, the field not getting there as much as I thought they would. He has forward eligibility. I do like Queen a lot. But yeah, I think I'll like him even more if Williams is out. Like Queen would probably become my highest owned center. But if Poole's in, it's going to kind of cut into everything else. So a situation where we are waiting on a little bit of news. But Jayhawk, how do you feel about the Pelicans, at least as far as right now?
Yeah, man. Derek Queen coming off a huge, huge game. I think he looks great here. You mentioned it. Good price. 7 sub 7K. I think he looks awesome. Gonna try to be a little bit overweight here. And then you mentioned Herb Jones. Potentially, we could see him play a little bit more to guard Denny. So 4,400. I don't hate that as a tournament stab. And then yeah, with a pull back, I don't know if I love Alvarado, but he's probably still going to play around 21 minutes. I did want to hear your take though. Well, there's two guys. I did want to hear your take on Shaden Sharp from. Sorry to backtrack on Portland,
No, you're good.
but also on Trey Murphy here. Do you like either one of these guys in tournaments?
I mean, Murphy always has massive upside. I'll say this: I like him more if Poole's out. If this ownership holds and Poole is out, I think he's an excellent tournament play. I definitely want to get to a lot of him. With Poole in, I still like him. Not quite as much, but that will keep the ownership down. So either way, yeah, definitely fine with Murphy. And then Sharp's interesting, right? I think he's better coming off the bench, and we've kind of seen this from him recently. He's always going to be very scoring dependent, so he's a wide range of outcomes. But that's the type of play I look at ownership. Like if he's not going to be too popular, I definitely want to get some exposure. He has a 40 plus fantasy point ceiling easily. I can say that with confidence. But yeah, he's very popular, so it makes it kind of difficult. I'm fine with him, honestly, especially in lineups where maybe you're not getting to as much Denny. But yeah, I think seeing him pushing 40%, I'm trying to maybe find a few pivots if I can. But yeah, both good plays in a vacuum, man, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think Sharp was kind of the guys that I like marked. If I wasn't playing Denny, I probably would get there, and vice versa. If I was playing Denny, I'd probably try to get away from Sharp.
Yep, and just so everyone knows, Socorro or Sissoko is probably going to get the start. He really hasn't been super productive. He'll hit a three here or there, but even if you're desperate for value tonight, not really someone I have circled as a player I'd have a ton of interest in. So just keep that in mind. Before we move to the late game, let's take a few questions here. We got Brian Starling saying DK says Boston's number one against KPJ's position. I mean, it's true. Boston defensively, still, even without Tatum, even with Horford leaving, one of the better defensive teams in all of basketball. The thing is, the usage is so high for Porter. They're going to create screens for him. He's going to be cutting. He's going to be hanging out on the wing at times. He's next to Rollins. Like, I don't think that position for position defense metric that DK uses is really a perfect or exact science. So just look at the data. I mean, it's all accounted for in here. We have Porter ranked ahead of guys like Harden tonight, and White and DeRozan. So I still like him a lot. His upside is tremendous just because he's taking so many shots and playing so many minutes with no Giannis on the floor. But you're right. It's a good question. Boston's defense is solid. Any thoughts on that, Jayhawk? Obviously, Boston, I mean, kind of a tough matchup for everyone.
Yeah, man, I looked into that too pre-stream. I think what I'm kind of confident with KPJ is I know that shot volume is going to be there regardless of how tough this matchup is here. So I just love that he's taking a bunch of shots. And like you said, the usage is super high still as well.
Yep. Usage can definitely cancel out some of the other stats we look at. Luke's saying best Denny pivot. I mean, one for one, I think it would either be Jalen or Jamal Murray. But if you're looking for like direct correlation, like if Portland still wins, it's probably Shady on Sharp that has the good game if Denny doesn't quite get there. But again, I do think Denny's a good play. The more I looked into it, like I was trying to confirm my own bias, and I couldn't do it. So that kind of tells you that he's tough to get away from. But any thoughts on pivots from Denny there, Jayhawk?
Yeah, I think you have Jalen Brown all the way up top at that forward position, but yeah, I think we'll touch on Jokic. Obviously, he's under owned. Jamal Murray, I think, is under owned in that late game as well. So we'll touch on all those guys as pivots.
Yep. Jose, I see your question. We'll get to it in just a minute, but let's segue to that late game now. Talking about Jokic, we have the Denver Nuggets here on the road at the Sacramento Kings. Favorites here on the road, 239.5 point total. Pretty close to the game prior. We talked about one of the highest totals on the slate. On the Denver side of things, no Christian Brown, no Aaron Gordon. Obviously, those are significant injuries. Julian Strother still out as well. I mean, we've seen Peyton Watson play pretty well at times. Cameron Johnson finally looked like he's worth half of what Michael Porter Jr. has been for the Nets. Pretty good trade for my Nets, I'll say, at least at this point in the season. Spencer Jones probably can get the start on the wing. He's boomer bust. He's flashed some upside, but it's kind of few and far between. But you mentioned it, man. On a 4-game slate, not a ton to pay all the way up for. Jokic does feel kind of under-owned here. And this is an outstanding matchup. When the Nuggets took on the Kings back on the 22nd of November, he had 72 fantasy points. On the 11th of November, on the road again, pushed 70 fantasy points. On the 3rd, this team plays all the time, it seems, of November, almost 80 fantasy points. Jokic has dominated against the Kings this season. And some of those games, I believe, came with Sabonis in there. So there is no reason not to absolutely love him in this spot. If you're looking for the true pivot away from Denny, I think it's Joker. Obviously, they play different positions and he's much more expensive. But if you're using that salary for Jokic, you can still kind of stay balanced without getting 2 stars and scrubs if you're not loading up on Denny. I absolutely love him here. I think it's kind of crazy he's not more popular. And I know it's a small sample of data, but Sacramento defensively has been terrible in the front court, especially with Sabonis off the floor. Murray too, man. Like even in lineups with Jokic, he's been absolutely tremendous. We've seen huge upside, out of him. Again, it's not always I'm comfortable playing 2 stars from one team, but with him being 9K flat on FanDuel, 8,900 on DK, I'm comfortable loading up on this game, getting those two in lineups, and then trying to run it back with some of this Kings value. But those are two of my favorite plays tonight. You could also mix in Johnson, Watson. I'm not getting too much Jones. Earlier in the day, we were seeing a lot of ownership going to Tim Hardaway Jr. He's fine, very scoring dependent off the bench. Bruce Brown as well getting some love. I will say I do prefer Hardaway of the two. Brown could just disappear like tonight. He's like the PJ Tucker of this team when he's on the floor. He's defense first. Just keep that in mind. So I would rather play Hardaway than Brown. Don't love either though. Jokic, I think, is ridiculously underowned, and it's kind of funny. DK tonight, Valanciunas, 30% owned. Like, what are we doing here? We're projecting for 13 minutes. This guy's gone for 20 fantasy points once in the past 2 or 3 weeks. Like, it just all the Jokic for me. It's such a crazy leverage point on DK tonight. If he only gets me 60, maybe it's enough raw points too. But he's been crushing the Kings here, man. But go ahead and rip through Denver before I start to recite a sonnet about Jokic. I think I'm glazing a little too hard.
You go, brother. No, I agree. I think when I first looked at the ownerships, like Joe Val seemed way overowned. If this game is competitive and it looks like the field is playing for Sac to be competitive, I don't know why Joe Val is so chalky, right? They're going to likely need Jokic on the court. So I'm with you. I like Jokic a lot more in tournaments, but I think Jamal as well. 8,900, sub 15%, both sides. Very high ceiling. He's shown it time and time again. So I love Jamal, love Jokic in tournaments, has pivots to Denny. And then I do kind of like Cam Johnson at 53 and 5,100. I think he could definitely hit a lot of threes in this spot. So I'm mixing in a pretty good chunk of Cam Johnson as well.
Yeah, I love it, man. And I mean, we'll talk about whether the game can be competitive or not, but the Nuggets aren't as dominant on the road historically past few seasons. 3 games this road stint. I mean, they beat the Pacers by 15. It stayed close enough, though. Beat the Hawks by just 1, Hornets by just 9. And then the last time they played the Kings at home, they actually lost. So everything's telling me this game should be pretty competitive. These teams are well rested. Really, really like the spot for Denver. Then on the Sacramento side of things, they are missing some key pieces here. Zach LaVine, who's finally playing well, is suddenly out. DeMontis Sabonis is going to be out, and Dennis Schroeder is doubtful. So interesting. They already announced that Nick Clifford, shout out all the Knicks in the world, even though he spells it pretty weird. He's going to be starting here tonight. I think he's pretty interesting as value. I mean, the model likes him. The field's getting there a little bit Obviously, not the highest usage player, but I think a few minutes for him can go a really long way. We've only seen him play over 20 minutes a couple times this season. I think every time he has, except for one game against Houston, he's hit value. So Nick Clifford to me, pretty useful piece of value, especially if you're looking to jam a Joker. Obviously, with Levine out, DeRozan and Westbrook are going to be the two to benefit the most. We see a nice bump in usage for both of them. I mean, the price on DeRozan's nice. Westbrook a little bit pricey here, but again, I mean, he's really quarterbacking this offense, coming off a huge game too, 70 fantasy points against the Pacers. I think that one went to OT, but played 40 minutes, just doing it all right now. He's playing really good basketball. DeRozan, Westbrook look excellent to me. Clifford, low floor, but I think as far as cheap value goes, he makes a ton of sense. Keegan Murray, a bit pricey, but he's going to be shooting threes. If you're looking to get a little bit different and still get exposure to this game, I'm fine with him. Malik Monk is like the wild card to me here. Probably coming off the bench. I mean, we've seen 40 plus fantasy points out of him. We've seen single digit performances out of him. Like, I don't know what to expect. I'd mostly just rather get away from that if I'm being completely honest. But again, DeRozan, Westbrook look excellent. I really like Clifford. And then Precious off the bench looks okay. But we're probably going to see Maxime Renaud start at center again. I think he's fine, especially if we don't get Robert Williams. I think Renaud in kind of the same price range is a pretty appealing pivot. Definitely prefer Williams if he's in. But if you want to get different, I think Renaud's fine. I mean, he's shown some upside. Obviously, not the best matchup here against Joker, but it's funny, man. My favorite game on the slate is probably this late game, so I won't feel out of it in my main lineup. Still, that at least. But how are you feeling about the Kings here? Obviously, not the best spot, but if this game stays close, a lot of these guys are going to be getting there.
Yeah, man, you're speaking my language with Nick Clifford. Shout out to CSU alum last year. He's very good. I watched him play at CSU. He's, I think, way too cheap for this role tonight. I'm very overweight to Nick Clifford tonight. Love him, both sides. He was really good in the summer league as well. And then moving to the rest of the team here, I think Russell Westbrook, obviously revenge narrative. No Levine. I think he looks great. Both sides, one of my favorite plays on the slate. And then the one thing I'm a little bit different is I'm a little bit under on DeMar tonight, and I'm over on Monk. I think off the bench they're going to need his scoring. So really like Malik Monk off the bench in tournaments just for his scoring upside.
Yeah, like we mentioned, I mean the ceiling for Monk's tremendous. So if you're playing high risk contests, he's too cheap for what he's capable of. It's just night to night. It's a boomer bust option. Like he completely epitomizes it. Obviously, DeRozan the higher floor, but I do think that's a pretty sharp pivot in tournaments. We haven't seen crazy upside from DeRozan, even with guys like Levine off the floor at times. So yeah, really appealing game here in general. Jose, who's our most recommended center or centers? Jokic for me. Not that that's a super hot take. Maybe it is if you look at the ownership, though. Robert Williams, if he starts, though, probably worthy chalk in that kind of lower value range. I think we like Kate a little bit as well. But Jayhawk, who are your favorite centers tonight?
Yeah, I think there's three that really stick out to me. Robert Williams, obviously, I think we both agree. Derek Queen looks great either way, and then I guess Jokic up top, and then I like Zubac a lot in the mid tier ownership. So I'd probably say those are probably my forfeit.
Yeah, question from Greg here: DeRozan or Grant in cash? It's DeRozan for me. I just think the extra usage for him goes a long way. Looking at the model, he's slightly preferred here as well. I think you could honestly have both in a lot of cash builds. But Jayhawk, who do you prefer between DeRozan and Grant?
Man, that's so close. I'll just lean with you with DeRozan. I have them like super close together, so I think either of them are great, like you mentioned.
Yeah, it's tough to really like have a strong lean there, but that's why you probably asked the question, Greg, isn't it? So hopefully that helps a little bit. Let's go ahead and start the dummy build. I mean, are we jamming Jokic? Do we try?
Let's do one Denny build and then one Jokic build and see what we can do.
I like it. Yeah, let's do the Denny build first. This is kind of where the field's going to be going. Let's assume Robert Williams is available and getting the start. Um, yeah, who else are we plugging in here?
Ooh, let's see. We got to get someone from. Let's see. I like Russell Westbrook. Can we fit him in?
Oh yeah, we could get Russ. Let's get Nick Clifford for value,
Let's do it.
and then maybe Shady on.
I like that.
Yeah, trying to lead into the chalk a little bit here. 5,700 left per. We got guard forward utility. We could play another center if we want. I mean, Queen is forward eligibility.
Let's see. Who's cheaper? We could go. Well, I was gonna say Watson in tournaments, but he's very more expensive than I thought he would be. He's 5,600.
Maybe Cam Johnson then.
Yeah, I like Cam Johnson. Let's do that.
Yeah, scoring dependent, but ceiling's there. He's cheap. I like that. He's guard and forward, I think, too, so that's useful. Forward, I mean, do we try to see what we get with Queen? Let's go Queen. Left with 5K. It's going to put us not Capella. I'll say that. I mean, Monk has upside. Collins has been okay. I don't think it's crazy to go there. I would prefer Monk, but very much boomer bust. Not crazy about Walsh. We'll probably have to maybe come down from Queen. Let's see. Someone like Hardaway is not crazy. Herb Jones, I think, is pretty safe at his price. And then we're left with 75. I mean, that gets us up to like Zubac. This is pretty good.
Yeah, I like
Something
that a
like
lot.
this.
You get
All
exposure
right,
to
and like
Tucker as well.
yeah, so let's scrap it and let's go ahead and run the Jokic build as well. I think we're still going to Nick Clifford for value.
Yeah,
Um, I honestly do think Herb Jones is one of the better value plays. So maybe we just keep him.
I like
Um,
that.
we're gonna need some value, right? Let's see here.
Should we go Williams again at the other center?
Yeah, why not? I love the price, love the upside. Definitely check some boxes. Now we're lacking at guard. You could go back to Johnson. Kamara is there. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. It's kind of gross, but I think the ceiling's there.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm
yeah,
up with
never a
that.
guy I'm excited to play. You probably hear it in my voice, but it does make a lot of sense. Looking at guard, I mean, if Poole's back, it's going to hurt Fears. Maybe Pritchard. We could try to fit Porter.
Yeah, I was gonna say KPJ. I think he's a really good play in tournaments.
Yeah, let's go Porter. Let's go Jabari Smith. That leaves us 66. Oh, we get Pritchard as well. Boom. Perfect.
Love it.
Pretty good lineup here, honestly. I like that a lot. All right, let's do FanDuel quick here as well. So probably a little tougher to get to Jokic here, especially if we're playing Denny. Let's go Denny first. Um, feel free to throw some names at me. I'm trying to think of who's cheap over here.
Let's see. Westbrook is 55% on FanDuel. Maybe we should just plug him in.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense.
Um, let's see who else. Who else is chalk? DeRozan. Should we get DeRozan in one? DeRozan.
Yeah,
Westbrook.
DeRozan's too cheap. I do like that.
Get that mini correlation.
Yep. Let's get Queen in at forward.
I like it.
Jabari's way too cheap at 57. I think that's good. We're gonna go cheap at guard. Go try the Monk thing. I mentioned AJ Green if he's in. I don't know if he's in or not. We might have to move some things around, but for now, I
Let's
keep
go.
landing on Hardaway. Oh, we got Clifford.
I was gonna say Nick Clifford. Yeah, we got to get Nick in there.
Yeah. All right. Let's do center just because we know. Um, I don't know. We could go Williams. If he's not in, maybe try to get the Kata or something. But yeah, I think for now we assume he's in.
I like
Shooting
that.
guard, Sharp, and then we're left with 68 at point guard, something like this. Pritchard
Pritchard.
again. I mean, not bad. Probably a few things you can move around. Obviously, it's tough to pay up for Denny and Jokic tonight. We have some value, but maybe not as much as it would take to feel good about that lineup. So just keep that in mind, everyone. Um, yeah, man, making great time. I don't know if we had any other questions, guys. Feel free to get them in. Jayhawk, you're going live at what 7:30 tonight?
Yes, sir. 7:30 Eastern. Yep, in Discord.
Yep. Love it. Yeah, Slate doesn't lock till 8 p.m. Eastern, everyone. Definitely keep an eye on lineups, news, all that good stuff. I think there's already a video up today for the NFL showdown slate tonight, so definitely check that out. We did just get the Rockets lineup, no surprise there, so don't even need to read that. Last UFC show for, I think, 6 weeks coming up Saturday, so guys, definitely tune in for that whenever we post that. I'll be on the next few days, though. Still grinding NBA. We got a huge slate tomorrow. I know we've had a few small ones, so appreciate you guys being here for these. But a really, really interesting slate tomorrow. We're going to have a lot to talk about. Jayhawk, any last thoughts, man, before we get out of here? I think Clifford's our guy tonight. I really like Jokic in tournaments. I mean, Denny, I wanted to get away from. It's tough. He looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I love Nick Clifford tonight. I think the way I'm going to build this slate is just get overweight on this late game and then just mix around the Portland guys. Like, I don't think I'm as high on Denny as I thought I was pre-stream, so I'll probably mix around Portland a little bit more than I thought I was initially.
Nice. Yeah, no, I'm with it, man. I like that game a lot. Again, those two games have much higher totals than the other two. So off that alone, I think that's a pretty good strategy, especially since ownership isn't necessarily following that trend. Once again, everyone, like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the links in the description below. We got the new multi-lineup builder available. There is a video in there if you guys want to check that out. Also, you get access to the Discord where Jayhawk will be live in just 40 minutes or so, talking to you. I don't know what time it is, but yeah, Jayhawk will be there in a little bit, talking to you guys up until lock. But appreciate everyone tuning in as always for Occupied Fantasy. Nick here with Nick. Have fun tonight. Take care. Good luck.
Good luck, everyone.